So my name is Isi Dosala, and I have an 11-month-old son. I am currently a project administrator. So it was something that we were expecting. So it was a Saturday, and my husband and I were out running some errands. And I think I had been expecting to see my period the day before, and nothing happened. So I was trying not to be overexcited so that I don't get disappointed, just in case that wasn't the case. So we got home and I decided to take a pregnancy test, and I saw 2 lines, so I was excited. So I told my husband, and he was like, okay, calm down. Later in the evening, I'll go and buy some more pregnancy. I was like, no, I'm leaving right now to go and buy a pregnancy test. So I left the house and went and bought like 4. The funny thing is that when I came home, I just went straight to bed. So it was when I woke up in the evening, I tested, it was positive. I tested again, it was positive. The following morning, I took 2 more tests and it was positive before I went to the hospital. I really enjoyed feeling my baby in my tummy. So I enjoyed the moments where I would be sitting down relaxing, and then I would feel him move. And then sometimes one part of my tummy would like really protrude. And then once I rub my hand over it, then he would just kind of like relax. There were times I would wonder like which part of his body is that? Is it like your knee or your arm or your elbow? And so there was a time I had one issue and I went to the hospital, and then I was told that his head had turned. And so I realized that one of the days I had my tummy like looking so weird, and it turns out that at that time he was moving into the head down position. And most of the time, the times where one part of his body was always like poking at a certain side. Later on, when he was born, I came to realize that it was his knee, and he likes crossing his legs. So on 2 occasions that the doctor tried checking his gender, we couldn't check because he had crossed his legs. And even up until date, he still crosses his legs when he's breastfeeding and when he's sleeping. So I know that it's his knee that was always like poking up in my belly. And I also enjoy people being so nice. You go to the banking hall, once they see you're pregnant, they have you sit down, and then they ask you what your transactions are, and then they get it done for you, you're out. And it was just nice. People ask me, have you eaten? Are you hungry? Should I get you something? Are you okay? Do you need an extra pillow? Yes, I enjoy people being really nice. One of the hard things was I didn't have nausea. I didn't have morning sickness. What troubled me was the fact that whenever I ate something, it would feel like it's stuck in my throat. And I would only feel comfortable if I stuck my hand down my throat and threw it up. Then I would get the relief. So that was very, very annoying. So I would eat something, and then the next minute I would just make myself throw it up because I was just uncomfortable. And then drinking room temperature water or slightly cold water made me feel sick. I could only drink very, very ice cold water. So I delivered on a Saturday. The night before that, I had gone for an all-night. So we got home Saturday morning around 7. I took my bath, I ate something, I slept. So I woke up, I think around noon, and I just wanted bread and fried eggs. So I sat in the kitchen, my husband got it done for me. I sat down for a while, then I went to lie down. So I was lying down when suddenly I felt a pain, and it felt familiar. So I was like, okay, never mind. Then it happened again, and I was like, wait, this reminds me of period cramps. And it's been so long since I've had some, but I was like, this reminds me of period cramps. And I remember the books and vlogs, people had said that that's how contractions feel like when they start off. So I was like, okay, let me monitor it and see. So then it happened again, and they were quite close. It was like 10 minutes apart. So I had like 3 more, and then I tapped my husband and said, I think there's something going on. So then he was like, what is it? So I explained what I was feeling. I was like, okay, let's monitor it. So we started timing. So I was using an app on my phone that had a contraction timer. So we started timing it, and it was like 5 to 7 minutes apart. But it wasn't to the point where I couldn't breathe or do it. It didn't feel, it was uncomfortable, but it wasn't like painful. And so he was like, does this mean this is labor? And I'm like, I don't know. It's as if I was in denial, kind of. So then we called the doctor, and then he's like, yes, that is labor, so get to the hospital. Then that's when my husband is like, you cry, you spoil surprises. They had planned a surprise baby shower for me that was starting at 4 p.m. and this was like 3 p.m. So I'm like, how do you organize a baby shower when I'm literally almost 39 weeks? So I was sad. So I was like, okay, let me just go and take a shower. I was like, I still want to go for this baby shower. It's like, you're supposed to go to the hospital. And I'm like, the baby shower is on the way to the hospital. So I'll just make a stop at the baby shower and then we'll continue to the hospital. So I got in the car, we packed the bags, we got to the baby shower. Then I started crying because it's like, I see all my friends who had planned all of this. My mother was there, some of my aunties were there. And I just started crying, but I was like, okay, I don't want them to think that the contractions are making me cry. So let me stop crying. But the one thing I remember about the shower was that the whole time I was cutting, immediately I got there, they were like, okay, cut the cake and be off to the hospital. The entire time I was cutting the cake, I had a contraction. So I had a smile plastered on my face. I was like, I was cutting the cake. So I sat down, I ate some of the cake, I ate kebab, drank Fanta. So I was there for, I think, about 20 to 30 minutes, and then they sacked me, and so we left. And immediately we left, then the pain amped up. And then we got to the hospital at about 5 o'clock. So when I got to the hospital, this was about 5 p.m. The nurse checked, I was 3 centimeters dilated, and she asked me that, when did this begin? And I was like, I started noticing it around like 2 in the afternoon. And she was like, but prior to that, you didn't feel anything? I was like, no. She was like, okay, you're already 3 centimeters. I was like, yes. So when I got to the hospital, the pain amped up again. And so by then I was really feeling like, okay, this is labor. I don't know if I'm going to survive, but it was kind of manageable. And then an hour later, she checked me again and she was like, okay, now you're at 5. I'm 5 centimeters dilated. So I was like, okay, this is going to go fast. Like, we'll be out of here in no time. And then she had to change shifts. So another nurse comes on. She was like, before she left at 7, she said I was 6 centimeters. But when the nurse that took over came, she said, no, this is more like 5 centimeters and not 6 centimeters. So then I was like, I really thought I was progressing in life, and now this. So then by now the pain was getting unbearable. And so then I asked for epidural, and they were like, no, they can't administer that to me because I didn't ask for it when I came in. And I was like, nobody told me this. At least you could have asked me when I came in that, or would you think you would want an epidural or anything? Then I could have made that decision. So I had to bear the pain. So I was clawing at my husband whenever a contraction was coming through. It was unbearable. And I had it in my abdomen and my back. And I had read so many stories, and people had said that when somebody rubs your back, it really helps. It was the opposite for me. Don't touch me. Do not touch me. It made it worse. So when the next duty nurse came and she was rubbing my back, I was like, stop, don't rub my back. She was like, really? She was like, oh, when she was in labor, I helped, and I lost, and I was like, no, don't touch me. So when the pain comes on, sometimes it will just be the abdomen, so I was shouting, my abdomen, my abdomen, my abdomen. And then sometimes it will be the back. That contraction will only be in my back. I'm like, my waist, my waist, my waist. And sometimes it's both, all in one contraction. It's as if it would move from the abdomen to the back. So 1 minute I'm screaming, my abdomen, my abdomen. Then it's like it's moving, and now it's my waist, my waist, my waist. So I was shouting, and the nurse said, stop shouting. You will need your energy. You are going to need the energy. So rather than crying and shouting, just breathe. I was was like, what is this? So I tried it a few times. I was like, I felt like the big bad wolf trying to huff and puff the pigs down. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to scream and shout because that's what is helping me. So I was doing that. I was clawing at my husband. He said at one point in time, I grabbed his neck and he was like, he didn't know what was going to happen to him. And so then the hours passed, and by 9 o'clock, I was still at 7, I think. But I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain. There were times where I didn't know whether I had collapsed, if I had just fallen asleep in between contractions, or if I had just gone unconscious. It's like all of a sudden you're not aware of yourself, and then suddenly a contraction is waking you up, and then you are in a state of, okay, like right now I'm alive, and then there are all these contractions going on, and you're just in so, it was unbearable. So around 10:15, the doctor had come in, and then he was checking, and they kept checking, and they were like, and I realized, okay, something is going on. And he was like, they're finding it difficult to detect his heartbeat. And that I had also been in pain, too much pain, like some of the pain medications they were giving me, it just wasn't giving me any form of relief. And then he had also passed a bit of meconium in my womb. So we're like, okay, you know what, we have to do a CS. And I was like, I'm fine, just wheel me into the theater and just take this baby out. Only to find out that they now had to call the anesthesiologist from wherever he was in this world to now get to the hospital. So that was very frustrating because I'm still in so much pain. And I thought that once they said, okay, we're having a CS, I'm going straight into the theater, I'm going to be given that spinal injection, and then my pain is over. But I had to wait an extra, I think 30 minutes before he arrived. And then he now has to ask me all the questions and then have the documents signed before I was wheeled into the theater. And so when I was wheeled into the theater, it was just me and then the nurse. The doctor was sitting down just waiting for them to prep up everything, and then the anesthesiologist. So he got everything ready, and I was just, at that point, I didn't care. I was literally screaming and yelling. And this was 11 p.m. at night, 11:15 p.m. I was like, I'm sure the entire hospital building could hear me, but I didn't care. Like, I just needed this pain to be over. So then finally he was like, okay, bend over and let's put this medication through you. Once I got the injection, everything stopped, and it was a relief. Like, I felt so relieved. And so then they started the operation, and then they took, so it's like you can feel your lower body being moved around, but you can't feel anything. It's like you're just wobbling. And so they took the baby out. They took him out close to midnight, and then they showed him to me. I don't remember my emotions when they showed him to my husband and I. I think I was just first of all confirming that indeed he's a boy, because I'd heard about scans being wrong. So I was like, okay, let me confirm first that indeed he's a boy. And then by the time I did that, then they just whisked him away. So in the first few months, especially, I did exclusive breastfeeding for the 6 months, which was really tough. But at least in the first 6 months of life, when I started going out again, like going to church, for instance, I would have to pack his diaper bag, and then I would always have to think about him being fed. So I would feed him before he's taken to have his bath. From the journey from home to church, I'm feeding him in the car so that when I get to church, I don't have to think about feeding him. And then I would express milk into a bottle before leaving home so that while we are in church, 2 hours later, I can feed him with it. So there are all these things that I need to think about and plan for whenever we have to leave the house. I have to leave the house with him, whether we're going for an event or something. And then the fact that now I can't just get up and say, oh babe, let's go and buy pork over here, or let's just go to the beach, or let's do something. You have a third human being, or like another human being that is entirely dependent on you. So if you want to go out, you have to think about, okay, who is going to take care of him? Are we taking him along? So if you're taking him along, you know they're not going to stay for so long, you know. So it's like you're thinking about all these things. Like, you have to plan ahead. You can't do anything spontaneous because it involves this tiny human being who is dependent on you. To date, the fact that I am still alive and the fact that I am still sane, I haven't gone mad, because it has been a very emotional roller coaster. So I'm surprised that I have made it this far and I haven't died. It's been tough. So I'm surprised at something. I feel like I haven't had the strength, or if I've had the strength, I don't know where it has come from to keep moving. But that's the one thing that has surprised me the most, that I have made it this far and my little human being still loves me and still smiles when he sees me. So I think that's the thing that has surprised me the most. Sometimes I feel like I know what I'm doing, and other times I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. And now that he's 11 months, at least from 10 months going, I noticed that now he understands things, and I'm able to tell his emotions. So now I'm wondering, at what point in time, when do you discipline him for something that he shouldn't be doing, but like, will he be able to process it now? When do you start some form of discipline? And sometimes I worry a lot about his nutrition. So when I started weaning him, I'm like, oh, he hasn't tried cucumber yet. He hasn't tried this yet. Is his brain developing? Am I giving him enough food? Like, is he getting enough nutrients from my breast milk? Or is he getting enough nutrients from the food that I'm feeding him? Or I haven't given him beef yet. I haven't given him this yet. Is he getting, I keep worrying about all these things, and it feels like an emotional overload. So there are days where I feel like, yes, I have this. Like when I prepare something new and he gobbles it all up. There are days where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, there are times where I've actually asked myself, I've broken down in tears and asked myself, am I going to survive this? Like, am I really going to survive this life, this path that I'm on now? So it's a mix of both worlds. Yes, two major changes with my body. My scar from the cesarean section, so that scar is for life, and then also the fact that now my tummy is flabby, so I have that extra skin around my tummy. But otherwise, I think those are the two main changes that I have with my body. Sleep. In the first 7 to 8 months. So he finally started sleeping through the night. He'd wake up like about once. It's about 8 months. But prior to that, I was always tired. I was constantly tired. I would go to work and somebody would see me and say, "You're tired." I'm like, "Yes, I'm tired." I would be so sleepy. And there are times where I wish I could take my son to my mom, leave him there, and instead of going to work, go back home and sleep the entire day as if I've gone to work, and then go and pick him up and take him home. But I couldn't do that because when I started work, everything was so hectic. So you go to work tired, and then you still have to take care of your human being at night and also palm. It was a lot. It was a lot. With his medicine, he was always fighting his vitamins. He was always fighting with us. I don't know why he doesn't like taking them. And it's not like it tastes bad, it tastes sweet. So one day I was like, you know what? You need to get used to this. So I decided to cuddle him, sort of fighting with him back. I decided to cuddle him and start singing "Hush Little Baby." So then it calms him down, and then he just takes it. So now he takes his medicine without a fuss, even without me having to sing "Hush Little Baby." When I sing "Hush Little Baby" to him, he calms down. When he was a newborn, I would just be singing and then rocking or swaying. It's like you're doing so much exercise, and then you look in the mirror and he's staring right back at you. He's not asleep after 30 minutes of doing that. So either breastfeeding him to sleep or putting him at my back. Those are the two foolproof ways that he would actually fall asleep, if he's at your back or if you're swaying him. His dad also has his own ways of putting him to sleep, but those are the ways that I'm able to put him to sleep. Falling down, falling from the bed. The first time he fell off the bed and I heard the kum, my heart. I was like, Jesus, my baby, my baby. And then you know, like when their mouths are open and you're not hearing any sound, and you know this cry is going to be loud. So those are the scariest moments, where he's hit his head, like he's fallen and he's hit his head. My very first scariest moment was when he had his first injections at 6 weeks. I went with my mom, and then they said, oh, give him paracetamol afterwards. But they didn't give us the instruction that after every 4 to 6 hours, give him again. So we thought that after that one time, that was it. So we were leaving campus and going all the way to Kaswa. We got to Wecha, and this boy woke up screaming. And I was literally in tears, like, what's going on with my baby? Like, what's going on with you? And he was screaming. Usually when he's crying and you put the breast in his mouth, like, it can't, but he wasn't. And so now my mom was driving and she was terrified, and I'm terrified, and literally I started crying. I was like, I don't know what to do with my baby. And then we come to find out that it was the injection. So the paracetamol had worn off, because it had been 4 hours, it had worn off. So we got home, and then a nurse advised us to give it to him again. So we gave it to him again, and then he sort of calmed down. But those 24 hours after the injections, it was horrifying for me. I'd never seen my baby in so much pain. I wish I could take the pain for him. He was just in distress. But by the following morning, everything was getting back to normal. But the first 8 hours after that was horrifying. So one of the things I have said to a lot of my friends is that they recommend breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding, but nobody tells you how painful it is in the beginning. It's painful, especially the first few days. Like, I wasn't educated enough about breastfeeding. I wasn't educated enough about the fact that there are different ways to hold your baby, apart from the most common way of holding your baby this way. There's the football hold. There's the fact that you can lie down for your baby to feed. I didn't have all of that information. So I was really suffering, if I should put it that way, because I didn't know how to hold. And I felt like, and when I was still recovering in the hospital, I would be feeding him, and then one nurse would come in and say, you have to hold him this way. Then they'll reposition the baby. Then another nurse will come 20 minutes later and say, no, you have to hold him this way. It's like, so how am I supposed to hold my baby? You know, so it's like, no, don't hold him this way. I'm like, so far as he's getting milk, that's what matters. And he doesn't look uncomfortable, that's what matters. But breastfeeding is painful. In the beginning, you have engorgement. Engorgement is painful. And the fact that you need to sacrifice your sleep. I really wanted to save breast milk in the freezer for when I had to resume work, so that I know I have a supply in the freezer. So I was sacrificing sleep in the middle of the night, maybe when he wakes up around 2 a.m. to feed. When he's done, then I need to sacrifice another 30 minutes of sleep to express milk, and then I'll save that in the freezer for when I resume work. Now, as the months have gone by, it's gotten easier. But I've still had the painful moments where even at 10 months, I had a sore on one of my nipples, and it was from breastfeeding, and it didn't heal till a month later. So 1 whole month of going through pain whenever I had to feed him. So that was painful. And in the beginning, I didn't understand how breastfeeding was bonding with your baby. At least for the first 3 months, I didn't understand it. I didn't feel like I was bonding with him whenever I was feeding him. I just felt like, you need to eat, this is your food, I'm feeding you, that's it. It's when I resumed work that I had to be separated from him that I began to feel that when I get home, I want to hold my baby, I want to breastfeed him. You know, he's close to me, it's comforting. And now at 11 months, the breastfeeding is more, it's still nutritional for him, but I really feel the bond more when we are breastfeeding at this stage. But in the early stages, it was really, really tough. Yes, I am surprised at how I'm able to juggle thinking about him and his needs, which has taken up about like 80% of my brain capacity, and now juggling in work and marriage and my social life. I'm surprised at how I'm able to break down in tears from like just so many emotions going on through me and then recover and then keep it going, because he needs me to keep it going. I resumed work when he was almost 3 months. In the first 2 months after resuming work, every morning I would have to drive 30 minutes to drop him off at my mother's house. Drive 30 minutes to work. You're already sleep deprived, you're already tired, you're already drained, and then you have to face your work for how many hours. And then also I had to stop work every at least 3 hours to express breast milk, so that at least he has milk while I'm away at work. So that part was tough, having to stop work. You're in the heat of things, but you have to pause and express milk so that you don't have a dip in your supply of breast milk. And there were times where I had to be in literally a day-long meeting, and I'm engorged and I'm in pain, and I just can't wait to get out of the meeting and rush home and just pump. So I close and then drive 30 minutes to pick him up, 30 minutes home, get him ready for bed, put him in bed, express before I have to go to bed. It was tough. I broke down so many times in tears because I felt like I couldn't go on anymore. This was just too much, like too much for me to handle. But as the months went by, and then we also got a nanny who was coming to our house, it made the journey to work easier. So then little by little, things began to pick up. And a lot of people said that, oh, it gets easier as the time goes by. And I could not understand them. I was like, how does this even get easier? Like, how is this supposed to get even easier? But now I look back and I realize that they were right. That yes, in the first few months, it's very tough. But as they grow, it gets a little easier. So at least when they start to sleep a little longer through the night, if you are wise with your time and you go to bed, let's say 30 minutes or an hour after they have gone to bed and they are sleeping, let's say 6 or 7 hours at a stretch, you get at least some decent sleep before it's interrupted. So yes, it's gotten easier over the time, but it was tough. When he was in the womb, I nicknamed him Bubbles, because his movements in the womb felt like bubbles that were bursting or popcorn that was popping. So I nicknamed him Bubbles. So all my friends who are close to me still call him Bubbles. Once he was born, I forgot about the name Bubbles, and then I came up with Boo Boo. But even recently, his new nicknames are Monsieur Le Fridge and Owner of My Fridge, because once he opened the fridge, he would drop whatever he's doing to get into the fridge and grab something. I don't know if it's the cool air that he likes. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He will get into the fridge once he hears that you've opened the fridge, or he can see that you're going towards the fridge. So that's how he earned that nickname. The mental exhaustion, the emotional roller coaster. It's been, I don't know if I am personally overly emotional. I don't think so. It's just a lot to take in. The fact that your body is changing after birth, the fact that your body is no longer the same, the fact that you have to constantly keep thinking about your child. Is he feeling too cold? Is he feeling too hot? Will he get pneumonia if he sleeps under the fan because he sweats so much? If he's not under the fan, he's just going to be sweating. Am I doing the right thing? It's been emotionally draining for me, because sometimes I ask myself, why did I get myself into this? Like, who sent me? You know, and then the recovery after the emergency C-section was another roller coaster all over again, because I was dealing with the fact that I'm a new mother. I was trying to adjust to the needs of my baby, trying to learn how to breastfeed. And everybody expects that you're a happy person because, oh, you have your baby, you forget the pain once you see your baby. But I'm not sure if I had some form of depression, but every single day after I gave birth, I cried, because I asked myself, why did I get myself into this? What am I doing? Why am I here? How am I going to survive? And it felt even more because it's like, I felt like nobody would understand me, because they feel like, you've given birth, you should be happy. Why are you crying? Why are you crying about the fact that you have a baby? But it was just so much. The pain from recovering from the CS was on another level. I had to learn how to get out of bed without pain. In the first 2 weeks, it was horrible. You can't bend. So I couldn't even bath my baby. It was my husband who was bathing, my husband and my mom who were doing the bathing. So it's been emotionally draining. First of all, you have to take your time when getting out of bed. So my husband did some research and he showed me a technique where you have to slowly turn onto your side and then push yourself up slowly. It really helped with the pain that you're already having in your abdomen. And then also the fact that you have to at least do some walking every day so that it speeds up your recovery, but don't overexert yourself. Don't remain in bed or just in one spot because of the pain that you're experiencing. And then I didn't know this until I had the CS. So you have the CS and they say nothing should cover your scar. So you can't even wear these disposable panties that they make for nursing mothers, like after recovery. You have to, because it was lying right on the scar and that already is painful, and then it could also lead to having your wound infected. So I learned a trick from 3 of my friends who said, get granny panties, like the big ones that would go over the scar, so that at least you are comfortable and your scar is not going to be affected. So I had to get some of those, and it was a lifesaver because then I could stop wearing the disposable ones that were very tight and uncomfortable and itchy, and then just have breathable ones that would at least go over the scar. And then also the breastfeeding helped. It was painful, but it helped with the contraction of my womb going back to the size that it was. It was painful, but it helped with that as well. And then talking to somebody who has been through it really helped me. I had at least 4 or 5 friends who had been through the process of having a cesarean, and so they would call me, they would text me, and then give me the support, and then it made me feel like, okay, this is not new to me. They have knowing that my friends have been through it before and were giving me the help and the support and the tips really made a difference, because it really made me feel like, okay, I'll get through this, because now they have gone through it and they are saying that, okay, just take it a day at a time. One of the advice I got that really helped was take it a day at a time. Don't think about tomorrow. Don't think about next week. Don't think about the naming ceremony that is 6 weeks away. Think about today. Right now, it just melts my heart when he just looks in my direction and then he smiles. It's just like, I can't help but smile back, so I think at the moment that's one of the most rewarding things for me, is the fact that he loves me, and you can tell from his smile, like his smile is almost as if he say, hey mama, like, hi, and I'm like, hello my boo boo. So yes, I love his smiles. I really love his smile.